Hello YouTube, welcome back. Today I'm going to be working on the 16 GT here. I'm having an issue with the window, which seems to be a pretty common problem with these cars, especially the passenger side door. I tried looking up some videos, found a couple videos. Most of the videos though that I saw, they were experiencing the window just bouncing. Like they'd close it right here and it would just like that kind of thing. Well, mine's not really doing that. Mine, you can see, it just kind of didn't go back up. And they were showing after you pull the panel off, there's a connector in there that goes to the window actuator, essentially the motor itself, that would either get moisture in it or one of the pins would sort of loosen itself a little bit, and that would be fixing the problem. What I've experienced in the past with mine is I've actually taken my air compressor and I would use it and blow out my latch area. Like I'd stick it inside here, blow it out really good, and close the door, and the door would start working, the window would start working properly again. So I don't know if my problem is here, because obviously there has to be something inside here to let the computer know that the door has shut to move the window up. And then when you open the door, something has to tell the system to roll that window down a little bit. And I don't know if that's activated through here or somehow with the motor, if somehow it's linked to, say, like the switch for the dome light kind of situation. I really don't know. So I'm going to do a basic test. I have to pull this off, unfortunately, to do this test. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a screwdriver. I'm going to push it in here so I can latch this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach in there at that connector and I'm going to wiggle the connector. If wiggling the connector, all of a sudden the window goes up, obviously my issue is there. If the window does not go up, my issue is going to be here. One of the videos I saw when it comes to tearing this out was extremely labor intensive because I guess this latch and the handle has like this one unified piece that everything's hooked to that you have to remove. And he did everything from removing his glass to his entire track system, the whole 9 yards. So I'm hoping not to go that route. But first, let me get this off and we'll go that route. Just a quick cap on how these come off. Pretty much right behind here, there's a little pinhole right here. You get a little hook tool, you pull this out, there's a screw here. You have to take a little body, panel kind of pry bars, peel this cover off right here. There's going to be a screw here. There's 2 screws on the bottom here. Once you get those off, then you can essentially lift the panel off. Then you have to unhook the latch that has a cable system, which I'll show that. And then the connector, obviously, for the electronics right here. So once I get that off, then I will get the speaker out and I will put my screwdriver in and I will go that route and see what happens. All right, so we got to this point. That clip, this for the door handle, you have these 2 little prongs. You have to kind of squeeze them and you pull it out. I didn't have this one fully compressed enough, so it kind of bent it a little bit, but I did break it, so I'll be just fine as I get that out. And then right here, I know you're not really going to be able to see it, but right up here, that right there is your connector. That's what I'm going to be playing with. Like I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a screwdriver. I'm going to close the door like the door was actually closed. We'll see if the window goes up. If it doesn't, I will play with that connector for a minute. I'll wiggle it a little bit, grab a few of the wires, maybe pull it out, and all that kind of stuff, and we'll see what happens with the window. If the window does not move after I do all that, I'm going to assume that that's messed up. I'll try blowing it out with my air compressor again just to see if it works. If it does, I know I'm replacing that very soon. No. Okay, go down. Now it's going up. Okay, so as you can see, it goes up and down when I play with this connector here. So the couple videos I watched where they talked about this connector, apparently that connector is it, which is really much easier than dealing with this entire arrangement over here. So one of them talked about one of the pins being a little loose, and he kind of pushed it back into place, and he had fine with that, which I wiggled my wires and it moved. So I'm going to look at that as one of my options. The other one showed to use a little bit of that grease around the connector, not on the actual terminals because you don't want any contact, jumping between them. But he took a little bit of rubbing alcohol, he cleaned all the terminals, and he made sure everything was clean. And you just put that grease, dialect grease, around the edge of it, so when you push it back in, no moisture get in there. Because apparently what the problem is with these is if it is a moisture issue, they tend to develop moisture, I guess, based on the way the connector pushes in, and when the water is able to get in there, it's able to get into that connector. So I'm going to go ahead and pull it out. I'm going to make sure everything's clean, put a little bit of grease on there, put it back in. I'm going to unlock and lock, or not really lock, but essentially replicate opening and closing my door multiple times, see how it works. And if everything seems to be good, I'll go ahead and put the speaker back in, put the panel back on. We're done. All right, I kind of went ahead and pulled the connector back off to kind of show what I was kind of doing here. The one video I saw, what the guy showed to do was to take the dialect grease and put it just on the edge of the outer portion of this clip right here. Because he said you don't really want it on the pins because you don't want it to actually jump current back and forth. He just put on there, but that's just to make it to where help make sure nothing can kind of sneak in past it. The other video I was watching, see this white wire to the far right hand side? That's the wire he said that he was having trouble with it on his. So what I did is I kind of pushed on that, made sure that was pushed all the way in, and I put the grease on there. So I'm hoping between the two of those that I did, hopefully it should fix my issue. But we'll find out in just a second. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to plug that back in, and I'm going to put my screwdriver in there and see if the window goes up. All right, let's see. If I push this in, that window should go up. And it did not. Do I have a wire problem? Super. Okay, so I had to take a second to kind of regroup for a second here. So what I ended up doing real fast, because it didn't seem like it wanted to work, so I was like, well, it worked a second ago, and I cleaned it, now it don't want to work. Okay, there's got to be something, I must have did something, or whatever. So what I did is I took the switch, I plugged it in, turned the key in the on position, and I cycled the window up and down a couple times. And I noticed that, this has the auto down, auto up. I noticed when I went to do the auto up, it wouldn't go up by itself. So I had to actually hold the switch. So I essentially had to do kind of like that thing that happens where if you have to replace a motor or something like that, sometimes you have to recalibrate it. So when I did that, then I tried the screwdriver, and now it's going up and it's working like it's supposed to. So here, I'll show you real fast. Okay, it went up, and if I plug the window in, you see the it's going down and it's going up. Now, since I have the thing in the lock position, it's going to go all the way up because it's sensing that the door is closed, even though it's not. And then if I pull this out, you see it comes down, and it still works like it's supposed to. When it goes back up, it'll stop in that spot where it's supposed to. And then there we go. So if you do this process, and it is definitely your wire right here, and then all of a sudden it doesn't seem to be working, try that first. Try cycling your window a couple times and see if that makes it work. In my case, it worked out great. So I'm going to go ahead and put all my door panel stuff back on, because obviously I know it's working and doing what it's supposed to do. So I'm going to go ahead and put my car back together, and we're done. All right, so I got the door panel and everything all put back together. I went ahead and cycled the window, checked the locks, made sure everything's working fine. I have not closed the door yet to check it. Now that I got everything put back together, I figured I would turn the camera on and let y'all witness this with me. Let's see if this works. It worked. Oh yeah, look at that. So that connector was the problem. I want to say big thanks to the couple YouTubers that made a video about that, because I would have never even thought to check that, because with the window still going up and down, it told me that the motor obviously was still good. So I would have never even thought to check that connector. And like I said earlier in the video, I made a mention that this has happened to me previously before, and took my blow gun and I just cleaned this sucker out really good. I just blasted air up inside there, and it seemed to work after that. So I assumed that my latch is what was going bad. Why it worked after I did that, I don't really know. Maybe it's just a coincidence that I just decided it wanted to work right afterwards. But I will say that connector was definitely much easier to do. It also saved me probably anywhere from probably $60 to probably $160, depending on where you buy that part from, and probably anywhere from 4 to 6 hours worth of aggravation. So it was definitely well worth checking that connector, and that seemed to fix my problem. I did run into that little issue where the window didn't want to work, but that was I just did a quick recycle of the window after that, seemed to work. So that obviously wasn't a major issue. So if your window doesn't work on the first attempt after doing the cleaning of the connector, just do a little recycle of your window. That should fix it. So hopefully this video helps somebody in the future. I'm not taking credit for the find of that connector. I'm just more or less just sharing the information that I got. So hopefully this helps somebody. And thanks for watching.